Welcome to I Love This Thing So Freaking Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Kevin Lively, a themed entertainment professional, writer, and creator of the Imagine What box. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So, here's how this works. Kevin will have 3 minutes to talk about something that he loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything he wants. Our only requirement is that he loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Kevin?
Let's go. I'll think of something to love really quick.
All right, I got my timer here. So, what do you love so freaking much?
I want to chat about something I really love, and that is the world famous Jungle Cruise. The Jungle Cruise being an attraction found at Disney parks, a very big part of my life. Some would say I have jungle water flowing through my blood. I worked on the attraction at Disneyland for 5 years before migrating over to Walt Disney Imagineering, where I kind of became the supervisor of the script type deal, kind of like the big brother of the attraction, the representation in the room. It's really important to me. And there's like three key reasons why I love it so much: the history of the attraction, the experience itself, and then the skippers. Those could be 3 complete episodes in themselves, but I'll go fast. The experience, Tony Baxter, who's a Disney legend of Imagineering, described it as like the very first virtual reality ride. In 1955, this attraction opened up. You go onto a boat and it takes you across the continents in 7 minutes or so. And you got to see animals, you got to see overgrowing plants. And before everybody had a pocket computer where you could look up videos of what countries really look like, this was kind of like the mid-century travel log that you can experience. And it survived throughout time, adapting almost like an animal, if you think about it. As I said, when it first opened up, not everybody could hop on a plane and go experience Africa. So you could get a little slice of that at Disneyland. But then travel became more common and documentaries became more common. And then things like Animal Kingdom opened up. And over the years, it survived by evolution, becoming the comedy that we know of today. And that is mostly in part of because of the skippers, cast members who take you on the attraction and how their live performance impacts the ride over the decades, turning it into a pun-filled comedy extravaganza, if you will. The history of the attraction, like I said, opened up in 1955 at Disneyland with the very first one. And if you think about the little attraction that could, art director was Harper Goff. You may not recognize the name, but you recognize his work. If you've ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, he was the art director for that. He was the art director for the old trams at Universal Studios, but he had a really cool, unique style. And the legend goes that when the bulldozers arrived to move all the dirt for the river, he picked up a big stick. He carved out the shape of the river on one bank, then went over 15 feet, did the other bank. And that's how the Jungle Cruise was designed. It was designed by a stick. And also, from my understanding, it's one of the few attractions that did not break down on opening day. So we got that going for us. Another big part of it is the skippers. As I mentioned, what they do in the boat impacts every performance because they're not audio animatronics like you would see.
Go ahead and you finish your thought.
On Pirates of the Caribbean. They are living, they have good days, they have bad days, and their personality can directly impact the experience the guest has.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for telling me about the Jungle Cruise today.
I had fun.
You mentioned that you worked on the Jungle Cruise as a skipper. Was that your first experience with the ride, or had you been on it as a guest first?
Oh, no, I grew up going to Disneyland when I was a kid. I grew up in Southern California. Jungle Cruise was always, I did it twice on every trip because daytime and nighttime, 2 completely different beasts. Because it's outdoors and it is lit mostly by a big flashlight or a torch held by the skipper and the lights on the exterior of the boat, completely different beast. And as mentioned also, every time you go on there, you get a different skipper, you get different jokes, different personality. So it was always a 2-time trip per visit to Disneyland.
I think that's a real sign of love for, especially an attraction, which has notoriously long wait times, given how popular it is, that you're like, nope, we got to see it twice every time we come.
Yeah, and it's all about timing for the wait times too, because you can go there and the line can be through the entire upstairs and downstairs of the boathouse in the middle of the day. But if you go there during Fantasmic or during fireworks, you can walk on. And that's a weird experience going on during Pyro, because over the tree line, you see all these big fireworks going off as you're in the middle of Central Asia.
So then what was it like to transition from a guest who was a big fan of the attraction and the skippers to be one of those skippers providing that experience?
My home attraction at Disneyland was the Opera House. When I first started, it was Disneyland, the first 50 magical years, starring Steve Martin and Donald Duck. And there was minimal spieling. I just did most of the spiel just now. You get people into a theater, you hit play, and bada bing, bada boom. The attraction was going down to get new carpeting. The main scheduler called me up. She's like, oh, do you have a preference on where you want to be cross-trained? And I said, I give my left arm to learn Jungle Cruise. And so it's really interesting. The people who get brought onto Jungle Cruise, it's a new hire attraction. So there's no audition to get in there. You will get people literally literally with zero public speaking skills or experience, pushed into the front of a boat of 40 people and told to tell jokes in a moving ride vehicle. And some people can hang with it, some people can't. I loved it. I got to go there and I didn't have to wear a tuxedo. I could wear shorts. Also, just being outside was a nice change. Another attraction I knew was Indiana Jones Adventure. And the schedulers knew Kevin does not want to work Indy. It was a big, angry indoor box where you had to tell kids that they were too short to ride. Jungle Cruise, complete opposite, big, happy outdoor ride where I literally once had a child in my boat who was on their way home from the hospital from being born. They stopped at Disneyland, which I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, to each their own. But that, I mean, literally anyone could go on Jungle Cruise.
And your job is to tell jokes.
Yeah, and I get to joke around. It was a lot of fun, you know.
You mentioned during your spiel that this ride has adapted and changed quite a bit in its long history. Talk a little more about how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, so it's actually the most changed attraction at Disneyland. When it first opened up, they say it was very serious and there was no jokes. It was more National Geographic. But I found when I was at Imagineering an early 1955, 56 script, and there were jokes. They just weren't very good. One of the jokes I remember is, there we have the giraffe, the only animal that looks down upon all the others.
Okay.
But the thing is, when you put that human skipper into a boat to do the same spiel every 7 minutes, what's going to happen? They're going to start having fun with it. And I think it's one of the great things about Walt as a leader was he didn't go there and fire all the skippers for turning it into a comedy, because he saw guests getting off the boat laughing. And so he took a ride and he realized, oh, there's an opportunity here. So that's when he brought in Mark Davis from the animation studio. And he had done a couple of Disneyland projects with WED, which is now Imagineering. And that's when he developed things like the Sacred Elephant Bathing Pool, the Gorilla Camp, scenes like that. And they started freshening up and adding these cute little vignettes. One of the most famous being the Trap Safari, where you had a safari party being chased by a rhino and they're all going up the pole. Fun fact, that was originally designed for the Disneyland Railroad as a marker along the tracks, so guests knew where on the Grand Circle Tour they were. But Walt saw Mark's drawings and said, that's too damn funny. We're going to put that on the ride. And so over the years, I'd say about every 10 years or so, there was a major update to the attraction where they'd close it down and they freshen it up. Right before I left Imagineering, we went in and we updated some scenes. We got rid of the native village and replaced it with a chimpanzee boat. The skippers for years have been wanting a crashed boat inside the hippo pool. So we're able to finally deliver on that. And then also we gave Trader Sam his own souvenir shack, and Trader Sam is now off on an adventure somewhere in the jungle and all his stuff is being taken over by animals. But we wanted to carry on a central theme with that one. I think it's the central theme ever since it became a comedy. Jungle Cruise is all about man versus nature. And in that battle, nature is going to get the last laugh. So if you look at all the different things we've done, at the work that Mark Davis did, the rhino chasing guys up the pole, the gorilla camp being overrun by gorillas, we wanted to match that type of theme throughout the entire attraction. We were also able to, with the Jungle Skipper Canteen, which is a restaurant out in Florida, beef up the backstory, because it wasn't until the 90s that it really got like a backstory with this jungle navigation company and they're giving tours. We went in there and we added in this whole backstory with Alberta Falls. She is the granddaughter of the great explorer, Dr. Albert Falls, who is the person the waterfalls that you go by are named after. And we tied in more of a theme of family, the unconventional family, because family isn't just mom, dad, 2.5 kids, aunts and uncles. It's those people who make up your closest circle, the people you spend the holidays with, the people who you can trust, the people you can call, the people who have a shoulder for you to cry on. And that is really like an overlaying thing that you see amongst the real life Jungle Cruise skipper community. No matter where you go in the world, if you meet another skipper who worked anywhere, any other jungle, you have an immediate relationship with them. It's like they're old friends you've known your whole life. It is one of the weirdest phenomena you can have in Disney. When I went to Tokyo to represent the Jungle Cruise for a big gathering of skippers, I had to get permission from a couple of my professors at Cal State Fullerton, like, hey, I'm going to miss a week. And the head of our department was actually a former Jungle Cruise skipper. He's like, have fun. We'll take care of it. It was fantastic. I can't tell you how many holidays I worked away from my family, because that's nature of the beast. Disneyland's open during holidays. And so you're spending the holidays with these people. You're there when their grandma dies. You're there when they have to go out on maternity leave because they're going to have a baby. You share those special moments. You spend so much time with these people that you do develop a unique family amongst the skippers. So we wanted to tie that into the overarching narrative of the Jungle Cruise.
That's a truly beautiful thing. Like in every way that the Jungle Cruise has been allowed or encouraged to grow and change, and for everyone involved with it to be a part of that growth and change, it all comes full circle and really has grown into something that is supportive and communal and more enjoyable for audience and cast member alike.
And I think that's one of the things that the Jungle Cruise needs is you need to have the skipper buy-in. There was a spiel submission program when I was working as a skipper. So if we had a joke, we were able to submit it to Imagineering. That would get reviewed. If the writing team liked it, they would pass it off to legal to make sure everything's cool. And then if it was, it'd be submitted into the spiel. Just from a psychological standpoint, if the skippers know they have an opportunity to submit a joke formally, get it approved and get it into the script, I used to tell my trainees, this is your insurance policy, right? You could technically go into a boat and say whatever you want. You're not supposed to. If you do that and then a manager is hiding out behind Schweitzer Falls and hears you tell a joke that's not in the script, that's on you. However, if you tell a joke and a guest takes it the wrong way, but you can say, hey, this is in the script, that's your insurance policy. So giving them the ownership of being able to submit original material is a really important part of doing that. When you have an attraction that has real humans attached, they're not the star of the show, but there is no show without them. So really important to keep them involved.
Is there anything that you don't like about the Jungle Cruise? And if so, how do you handle that?
As I mentioned, skippers are like a family, but not every family is functional.
Mm-hmm.
There is like some weird generational friction in between different generations of skippers. I think it goes the same for anybody else. Like, even if you take this into like sports fandom, it's my generation was the best. Times change, circumstances change. And so there's kind of like that going on. And like, oh, we used to never tell jokes like that. Or, oh, we used to do this and we wouldn't get in trouble. And when I worked here, we used to do this and that. Actually, I have the best story about that. When we were in Tokyo, we were meeting with the Tokyo skippers and they gave us a conference room. Someone asked, like, do the older generations tell the younger skippers, the newer generations, to pull pranks and stuff like that? I mentioned, like, yeah, we have older generations coming in and they're like, oh, back in my day, we used to do this and we used to do that. And it gets translated into Japanese. Then you just see every single head in that room turn towards one of the managers. And one of the higher ups in the room over from Tokyo used to be a Jungle Cruise skipper. And apparently back in the day, he used to take a surfboard to the top of Schweitzer Falls. And he tells the skippers, those type of stories like, back in my day, we used to do this. But what I love about that story is there was nobody from America telling him to do that. That just naturally happened in two different Jungle Cruise attractions with dang near zero contact with one another. That was just a natural evolution of skippers on that attraction is you have the older generations causing trouble and then like, oh, you guys should do what we do. That just blew my mind. I just wish older generations and younger generations kind of celebrated what we love more instead of trying to act superior to one another.
Kevin, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
Oh, hey, thanks for listening.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about the Jungle Cruise or our guest Kevin, you can find some links to his work in the episode description. And if you have something you love so freaking much you want to tell me all about it, consider this your invitation to join the show. I Love This Thing So Freaking Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed and edited by Sophie A. Katz. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the window at all the social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.